Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair watching the stars through the main screen of his ship, the New Horizon. His crew of 30 had been exploring space beyond Earth's colonies for 6 months. They were good people, brave people who wanted to see what lay beyond the known worlds. Jake had been a space captain for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on his sensors that morning. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Lieutenant Amy Ross looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Captain, we have something big coming toward us, really big." Jake stood up and walked to her console. The numbers on the screen made no sense. The object approaching them was larger than any human ship ever built. It was larger than some of Earth's space stations. "How big are we talking about, Amy?" "Sir, it's at least 20 miles long, maybe more, and there are others behind it." The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of empty space, they now saw a massive dark ship floating in front of them. Its hull was black metal covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with purple light. Behind it, more ships appeared. Each one was huge, each one looked like it could destroy a planet. "Captain," called out Communications Officer Ben Clark from across the bridge. "They're sending us a message." The screen changed again. Now they could see inside the alien ship. Tall creatures stood in what looked like their command center. They had gray skin, 4 arms, and large black eyes. The one in front wore robes that sparkled like stars. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "Human vessel, you will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. I am High Commander Vex Thul of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been judged." Jake felt his heart beating faster. First contact with aliens had always been a possibility, but not like this. These beings did not come in peace. He pressed the button to respond. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel New Horizon. We come in peace and mean no harm to your people." The alien's black eyes seemed to look right through him. "Peace is not why we are here, human. Your kind has spread across 12 worlds without permission. You build weapons, you multiply like insects. The Zephyrian Empire has decided your fate." Before Jake could respond, the alien ship fired a bright beam of energy. It lasted only a second, but when it ended, a large asteroid nearby was gone. Not destroyed, not broken apart, simply gone, as if it had never existed. "That was a demonstration," said High Commander Vex Thul. "Now you will take our message to your leaders on Earth." Jake wanted to run, wanted to fight, wanted to do anything except listen to this creature threaten his home. But his ship was tiny compared to the alien fleet. His weapons were toys compared to what he had just seen. What message? The human species will surrender completely to the Zephyrian Empire. All your military forces will be destroyed. All your colony worlds will be abandoned. Your people will be moved to places we choose where you will work for us. You have 30 of your Earth days to agree." The alien paused, and Jake could see other creatures moving around behind him. They all looked confident, like they had done this many times before. "If you refuse," continued the High Commander, "we will turn every human world into ash. Your children will die. Your cities will burn. Your species will be removed from the galaxy. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The screen went dark. The alien ships remained visible outside, but they did not move. They just waited. Lieutenant Ross was shaking. "Captain, what do we do?" Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. These were good people who had families back on Earth. They had signed up to explore the stars, not to carry messages of doom to their homeworld. But now, they had no choice. "Go home," he said quietly. "We go home and we tell them what we saw." The journey back to Earth took 8 days. 8 days of knowing that behind them an alien fleet waited to destroy everything humans had ever built. 8 days of wondering if Earth's leaders would choose to fight or surrender. When they reached Earth, Jake was taken immediately to the United Nations building in New York. President Lisa Carter met with him in a room full of generals, admirals, and scientists. She was a strong woman who had led Earth through many difficult times, but even she looked worried as Jake told his story. "Show us the recording," she said. The room went silent as they watched the alien message. When it ended, nobody spoke for a long time. General Chris Taylor was the first to break the silence. "Madam President, our best warships would be useless against technology like that. If they can make an asteroid disappear with one shot, what could they do to our cities?" Dr. Susan Blake, Earth's top expert on alien life, leaned forward. "The way they speak, the way they act. They see us as insects. They think we're too primitive to fight back." Admiral Paul Henderson shook his head. "Maybe we are. Maybe surrender is our only choice." President Carter stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the city where millions of people lived normal lives, not knowing that aliens wanted to enslave them all. 30 days, she said. "They gave us 30 days to decide between slavery and death." She turned back to face the room. Her eyes were hard now, like steel. "They want us to kneel. They think humans are weak. They think we'll choose chains over graves." General Taylor raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking, Madam President?" Lisa Carter smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who had been cornered and was ready to show her teeth. "I'm thinking they just made the biggest mistake in galactic history," she said. "They threatened our children. They want to put us in cages. They picked a fight with a species that climbed to the top of the food chain by being too stubborn to quit and too mean to die." She looked around the room at Earth's military leaders. "Gentlemen, lady, we have 30 days to show these aliens what happens when you corner humanity. Let's get to work." The morning after Captain Morrison delivered the alien message, President Carter called a secret meeting. Only 12 people in the entire world knew about Protocol Omega, a plan created years ago in case Earth ever faced a threat too big for normal military forces. General Taylor sat at the head of a long table in a room buried deep under the Rocky Mountains. "Protocol Omega is now active," Carter announced to the group. "As far as the world knows, we are considering surrender to buy time. In reality, we prepare for war." Dr. Richard Stone, Earth's best weapons scientist, opened a thick folder. "We need to understand their technology first, the energy beam that destroyed the asteroid, their ship designs, everything we can learn from Captain Morrison's recordings." Colonel Amy Ross, now promoted to lead colonial operations, spread out maps of human space. "I've already started moving people from our border worlds. We're telling them it's a safety drill. The real reason is to turn those planets into weapons factories." The plan was dangerous and complex. To the public and to any alien spies watching Earth, humanity looked like it was preparing to surrender. News broadcasts showed government officials talking about peace. Ships loaded with supplies headed toward the colonies, but the supplies were not food and medicine. They were metal, computer parts, and chemicals needed to build weapons. Colonel Ross took a transport ship to New Texas, humanity's newest colony world. The planet had large mining operations and factories. When she arrived, she called together all the local leaders. "We have 3 weeks to turn this world into a weapons factory," she told them. "Every mining drill, every metal processor, every computer system needs to be working on one goal: building ships and weapons to fight the Zephyrians." The colonists did not argue. They had families on Earth too. Within hours, mining crews were pulling rare metals from the ground 24 hours a day. Factories that made farming equipment started making hull plating for warships. Even the schools were turned into electronics workshops where children helped build computer systems for military ships. Back on Earth, Dr. Stone worked in a secret laboratory beneath the Sahara Desert. His team had pieces of the asteroid that the aliens had destroyed. When they studied the rocks under powerful microscopes, they found something interesting. "Look at this," Dr. Stone said to his assistant, Dr. Karen White. "The alien weapon didn't just blast the asteroid apart, it changed the molecular structure, made the rock tear itself apart from the inside." Dr. White adjusted the microscope settings. The energy beam created some kind of quantum reaction, like it made the atoms forget how to stay together. "If we can understand how it works," Dr. Stone said quietly, "maybe we can turn it against them." Meanwhile, Captain Morrison was not sitting idle. His ship had been badly damaged in the encounter with the Zephyrians, but the computer systems still worked. The ship's artificial intelligence had recorded everything, including detailed scans of the alien vessels. In a workshop on Luna Base, Morrison worked with Chief Engineer Pete Collins to study the scans. "Look at this," Morrison pointed to a section of the alien ship design. "Their power cores are huge, but they're completely unprotected." Collins nodded. "They think they're so superior that no enemy could ever get close enough to threaten their engines. That's a weakness we can use." On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, Commander Helen Price was overseeing a different kind of preparation. Titan had a mass driver, a magnetic rail system used to launch cargo containers into space. But Price was modifying it for a very different purpose. "We're going to turn this into the biggest gun in the solar system," she explained to her engineering team. "Instead of cargo containers, we'll launch tungsten rods at incredible speed. When they hit a target, they'll have the power of nuclear weapons." Her team worked day and night, upgrading the mass driver's power systems and targeting computers. They tested it by shooting practice rounds at empty asteroids. The results were impressive. A simple metal rod, when accelerated to high speed, could punch through almost anything. Dr. Susan Blake was working on a different approach. In her laboratory on Mars, she studied samples of Zephyrian biology taken from their diplomatic broadcasts. Their body chemistry was different from humans, which gave her an idea. "We can create biological weapons that only affect them," she told her research team. "Viruses that attack their respiratory systems, bacteria that break down their food supply, toxins that their bodies cannot process." It was dark work, but Dr. Blake knew the aliens had threatened to kill every human child on Earth. Sometimes, she thought, fighting monsters required becoming a little monstrous yourself. As the days passed, humanity's hidden preparations grew larger and more complex. Ships that looked like civilian transports were actually carrying weapons. Mining operations were secretly building military equipment. Scientists were developing new technologies based on captured alien data. General Taylor coordinated everything, from his command center deep underground. Charts on the walls showed the progress of each project. New Texas was ahead of schedule building ships. Titan's mass driver would be ready in 1 week. Dr. Stone's team was close to a breakthrough on alien energy weapons. "How are we doing for time?" President Carter asked during one of their daily briefings. 18 days until the deadline," Taylor replied. "We'll be ready." Dr. Stone entered the room with excitement in his eyes. "Madam President, we've done it. We've figured out how their weapons work and, more importantly, how to use that knowledge against them." He activated a holographic display showing the test results. "We call them Reaper warheads. They use the same quantum effect as alien weapons, but in reverse. When they hit an alien ship, they make the ship's own hull tear itself apart." President Carter smiled. It was the first genuine smile anyone had seen from her since the aliens arrived. "How many can we build?" "As many as you want," Dr. Stone replied. "Every factory in human space is now producing either ships to carry them or components to build them." Outside the hidden command center, the world continued to watch news broadcasts about humanity considering surrender. Politicians gave speeches about finding peaceful solutions. The alien fleet waited patiently beyond Earth's outer planets, confident that the primitive humans would make the smart choice and submit. They had no idea that in secret bases across 12 worlds, 60 billion humans were working around the clock to build the largest military force in human history. They had no idea that Earth's best scientists had found ways to turn alien technology against its creators. They had no idea that humanity's answer to their ultimatum was already being loaded into warships. In 18 days, the Zephyrians would return expecting Earth's surrender. Instead, they would face humanity's fury. General Taylor looked at the progress reports one more time. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Soon, the aliens would learn a lesson that would echo across the galaxy. For generations, you should never threaten a human's children and expect them to kneel. 30 days had passed since the Zephyrian ultimatum. High Commander Vexthal returned to Earth's solar system with 200 of the Empire's most powerful warships. Each vessel was miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. The alien fleet took position near Mars, their dark hulls blocking out stars. President Carter stood in her office looking at reports from across human space. Every colony world was ready. Every secret weapon was in place. Every man, woman, and child knew what was coming, even if they didn't know the details. Madam President, General Taylor entered the room. The aliens are demanding a response. They want you to come aboard their flagship to deliver humanity's surrender personally. Carter nodded. She had expected this. The aliens wanted to humiliate humanity's leader in front of their own people. They wanted Earth to see their president kneeling before alien masters. "Tell them I'll come," she said. "Admiral Henderson and General Taylor will accompany me." 3 hours later, a small human shuttle approached the massive Zephyrian command ship. The alien vessel was called Star Crusher, and it lived up to its name. Weapons covered every surface. Shield generators glowed with purple energy. The ship could have destroyed Earth's moon with a single blast. Inside the shuttle, Carter reviewed her speech one final time. She had written it herself, choosing every word carefully. This would be the most important moment in human history. The shuttle docked with the alien ship. Zephyrian guards escorted the human delegation through corridors filled with strange technology. The walls pulsed with organic patterns that hurt to look at. The air smelled like metal and decay. They entered the command bridge, a vast chamber, with a ceiling that stretched up into darkness. Hundreds of Zephyrian officers stood at their stations, all forearms working on controls that humans could not understand. At the center of the room, High Commander Vex Thul waited on a platform, raised above the floor. The alien leader looked exactly as he had 30 days ago, but now Carter could see him more clearly. His gray skin was covered with scars. His black eyes showed no emotion at all. He wore robes that seemed to be made from the skin of other creatures. "Human leader." Vex Thul's voice echoed through the chamber. "You come to deliver your species. Surrender. The Zephyrian Empire is prepared to accept your submission." Carter walked forward until she stood directly below the alien commander's platform. Admiral Henderson and General Taylor flanked her, their faces calm despite being surrounded by enemies. "I come to deliver humanity's answer," Carter said in a clear, strong voice. "But first, let me make sure I understand your demands correctly." She pulled out a small device and began reading. "You want us to disband all human military forces. You want us to abandon our colony worlds. You want us to relocate our entire population to places you choose, where we will serve as workers for your empire." "Correct," Vex Thul replied. "You will become a servant species. Your children will be raised to obey Zephyrian law. Your technology will belong to us. Your lives will have meaning only as they serve the Empire." Carter looked around the bridge, at the alien officers. They all seemed bored, as if this conversation was a waste of their time, as if humanity's fate was already decided. "You believe we are weak," Carter continued. "You believe we are primitive. You believe we will choose slavery over death." "Yes," the High Commander said simply. "All inferior species make this choice when faced with Zephyrian power. It is the logical decision." Carter smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "You made one mistake. You assumed we think like you?" She pressed a button on the device in her hand. Immediately, alerts began sounding throughout the alien ship. Officers at their stations started shouting in their own language. The High Commander's black eyes went wide with surprise. "What is happening?" Vex Thul demanded. "You asked for humanity's answer," Carter replied. "Here it is." On the main screen, space around the alien fleet erupted in explosions. Human warships appeared from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, from hiding places the aliens never thought to check. The new ships were smaller than Zephyrian vessels, but there were hundreds of them. Captain Morrison led the first attack wave in his new ship, the Human Defiance. His Reaper warhead struck the nearest alien dreadnought. The warhead's quantum energy made the ship's own hull plating turn into molecular blades. The massive vessel tore itself apart from the inside, dying in minutes. From Titan, Commander Price activated the mass driver. Tungsten rods accelerated to 15% of light speed crossed the solar system in hours. The first rod punched through a Zephyrian battleship's shields like they were paper. The kinetic energy vaporized half the ship instantly. Dr. Blake's biological weapons activated aboard alien vessels. Viruses specifically designed to attack Zephyrian biology spread through their atmospheric systems. Alien crew members began collapsing at their stations as their own air became poison. High Commander Vexthul watched his fleet dying on the command screens. Ships that had conquered a dozen star systems were being destroyed by primitive humans. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. How? He whispered. Carter stepped closer to the platform. You threatened our children. You came to our home. You demanded, we kneel. You made the mistake of thinking humans are reasonable. The Star Crusher shuddered as human fighters swarmed around it. Reaper warheads exploded against its hull. The ship's own defensive systems began failing as the quantum weapons turned its armor into a weapon against itself. We studied your technology, Carter continued as explosions lit up the bridge. We found your weaknesses. We prepared for 30 days while you waited for us to surrender. Every human world worked together to build the weapons that are killing your fleet right now. Vexthul tried to give orders to his officers, but half of them were dead from biological warfare. The other half were trying to keep their ship from tearing itself apart. The great Zephyrian Empire, conqueror of worlds, was being defeated by the species they considered insects. Impossible, the High Commander said. We are superior. We are stronger. You were stronger, Carter corrected him. You had better technology. You had bigger ships. But you made one fatal error. The Star Crusher's main power core began overloading. Warning lights flashed throughout the bridge. The ship that could destroy planets was about to become a brief star itself. What error? Vexthul asked desperately. Carter looked directly into his black eyes as the ship died around them. You never bothered to learn what happens when you corner a species that fought its way to the top of the food chain. You never asked what humans do to things that threaten their children. The bridge exploded in light. When it faded, President Carter stood in the wreckage surrounded by dead aliens. Her shuttle's emergency teleporter had saved her and her escorts just before the Star Crusher's destruction. Through the shuttle's windows, they watched the last Zephyrian ships die. The great fleet that had come to accept humanity's surrender was now debris floating in space. Not one alien vessel survived. Admiral Henderson looked at the destruction with satisfaction. Madam President, what are your orders? Carter activated her communicator to address the entire human fleet. The immediate threat is ended, but somewhere out there, the Zephyrian Empire still exists. They still have worlds, ships, and billions of citizens who supported the decision to enslave humanity. She paused, thinking about her next words carefully. They would determine the future of both species. We finish this, she said finally. We make sure they can never threaten Earth again. We make sure every species in the galaxy knows what happens when you demand that humanity kneel. The hunt was about to begin. 6 months after the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet at Earth, humanity faced a choice that would shape the galaxy forever. In the secure conference room beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Carter met with her military leaders to decide the fate of an entire alien empire. Admiral Henderson, now Supreme Fleet Commander of all human forces, spread star charts across the table. Red markers showed 47 Zephyrian star systems scattered across 300 light-years of space. Each system contained millions or billions of alien lives. The captured databases tell us everything, Henderson explained. The Zephyrian Empire controls 47 systems. Their military has 12 major shipyards, 36 fortress worlds, and approximately 8,000 warships still operational. General Taylor leaned forward to study the maps. That's still a massive force. Even with our new weapons, fighting them on their home territory won't be easy. Dr. Stone, now head of all human weapons development, opened a thick folder. We've made significant improvements to our technology using captured alien equipment. The new Reaper warheads are 50% more effective. Our quantum torpedoes can crack planetary surfaces, and the nanobotic swarms can consume entire fleets in hours. President Carter looked at each marker on the map. Each one represented a world full of beings who had supported the decision to enslave humanity. Children had been born on those worlds, While their parents planned to put human children in cages, they came to exterminate us, she said quietly. If Captain Morrison hadn't gotten away with their message, Earth would be ash right now. 12 billion humans would be dead. Colonel Ross, now a general in charge of colonial forces, nodded. The question is, do we stop with defending ourselves or do we make sure this never happens again? Carter stood and walked to the window. Outside, construction crews were building new shipyards. Earth's factories ran 24 hours a day producing weapons and ships. The entire human race had become a war machine focused on one goal. We. Finish this, she decided. Operation Cleansing Fire is approved. We hunt down every Zephyrian military asset in the galaxy. We liberate every species they've enslaved. We make sure the Zephyrian Empire can never threaten anyone again. 3 weeks later, the human fleet began its campaign of conquest. Captain Morrison, now an admiral, led the first deep strike mission into Zephyrian space. His target was Kepler Station, a massive shipyard where the aliens built their largest warships. Morrison's fleet of 60 ships approached the Kepler system carefully. Long-range sensors showed 3 Zephyrian dreadnoughts guarding the shipyard, along with dozens of smaller vessels. It should have been an easy victory for the aliens. The battle lasted 6 minutes. Human fighters equipped with quantum stealth systems penetrated the alien defensive grid without being detected. Reaper warheads struck the dreadnoughts simultaneously. Each massive ship died as its own hull plating became a molecular weapon against itself. The shipyard's defensive platforms tried to fight back, but Dr. Stone's nanobotic swarms had already been released. Tiny machines, smaller than dust particles, swarmed over the alien structures. Within an hour, the entire facility had been consumed down to its component atoms. Kepler Station is completely destroyed, Morrison reported back to Earth. No alien survivors. The shipyard and all vessels under construction have been eliminated. Similar attacks happened across Zephyrian space. Human fleets struck like lightning, destroying military targets and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could move so fast and strike so hard. General Price led ground operations on Zephyrian colony worlds. Her Marines, enhanced with captured alien biotechnology and equipped with Reaper weapons, proved unstoppable against demoralized alien forces. City after city fell as the Zephyrian population realized their military could not protect them. On the world of Vega 7, Price's forces liberated 3 enslaved species that had been working in Zephyrian mines for centuries. The grateful aliens provided detailed intelligence about Zephyrian military positions and weaknesses. The Zephyrians rule through fear, explained Kethmore, leader of the liberated Valdani people. They tell their subjects that resistance is impossible. But you humans have shown that even the mightiest empire can fall. Dr. Blake's Biological Warfare Division created new horrors specifically designed for alien physiology. Atmospheric processors that turned breathable air into poison. Soil bacteria that made farming impossible. Water treatment systems that became delivery mechanisms for species-specific toxins. The Zephyrian government, based on their capital world of Zephyr Prime, tried desperately to negotiate. They sent messages to Earth offering reparations, territory, even technology transfers in exchange for peace. President Carter's response was broadcast across the entire galaxy. You had 30 days to choose peace. You chose war. You threatened our children. You demanded we kneel. Now you face the consequences of awakening humanity's wrath. The human campaign was methodical and brutal. System after system fell to human forces. Alien shipyards became debris fields. Military academies were reduced to ash. The great Zephyrian fleet, once the terror of a dozen species, was hunted down and destroyed ship by ship. On the industrial world of Rigel 4, human forces discovered the true horror of Zephyrian rule. Massive slave camps held millions of beings, from 30 different species. Men, women, and children worked in conditions that killed thousands every day. General Taylor personally oversaw the liberation of Rigel 4. How long have your people been enslaved here? He asked one of the survivors, a female from a species that looked like giant insects. My grandmother was born here, she replied through a translation device. My mother died here, I expected to die here too. We had given up hope until the humans came. News of the slave camps hardened human resolve. This was not just about defending Earth anymore. This was about justice for every species the Zephyrians had crushed under their boots. Dr. Stone's weapons became increasingly devastating. Gravity mines that created localized black holes. Temporal disruptors that aged enemy ships to dust in seconds. Reality bombs that made entire areas of space forget how to exist. The Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled over part of the galaxy for 1,000 years, was being dismantled piece by piece. Their military crumbled. Their colonies surrendered without fighting. Their enslaved populations rose up in rebellion. Admiral Henderson coordinated the final phase of the campaign from his flagship, Humanity's Vengeance. Intelligence reports showed only 4 Zephyrian systems still under alien control. The rest had either fallen to human forces or declared independence. The aliens are asking for one final negotiation, his communications officer reported. They're offering complete surrender of all military forces in exchange for the survival of their civilian population. Henderson smiled grimly. Tell them they gave us their terms 30 days ago. Now they live under ours. The Zephyrian home world of Zephyr Prime was the last major target. 8 billion aliens lived on the planet that had been the center of their empire for centuries. Now it was surrounded by 500 human warships, each one capable of destroying a continent. On the surface, the Zephyrian High Council met in emergency session. Their empire was gone. Their military was destroyed. Their enslaved species had turned against them. Only their homeworld remained. High Counselor Zethvar, the highest-ranking Zephyrian leader still alive, looked at reports from across their former territory. The humans have taken everything. 43 star systems, 12,000 ships, 50 billion of our citizens. In 6 months, they have destroyed what took us 1,000 years to build. What do we do? Asked another counselor. Zethvar closed his black eyes. We faced the reality that we awakened something terrible. We demanded that humanity kneel. Instead, we taught them how to make others kneel to them. Above the planet, President Carter stood on the bridge of her command ship, looking down at the world that had sent the ultimatum to Earth. In a few hours, she would give the Zephyrians one final chance to surrender. If they refused, Zephyr Prime would join the list of worlds reduced to ash. The hunt was almost over. Soon the galaxy would know that humanity was no longer the frightened species hiding on one small planet. They had become something far more dangerous. The apex predators of known space. 18 months after first contact, the human fleet surrounded Zephyr Prime like a metal wall of death. 500 warships hung in space above the alien homeworld, their weapons pointed at cities where 8 billion Zephyrians lived in terror. The once proud capital of a galactic empire was now a prison waiting for its sentence. Admiral Henderson stood on the bridge of his flagship, Humanity's Vengeance, watching the planet below. Massive cities covered the continents. Orbital platforms floated in the atmosphere like metal islands. This world had been the center of Zephyrian power for 1,000 years. Now it was the last place in the galaxy where their empire still existed. Madam President, Henderson said into his communicator, all fleets are in position. The planet is completely surrounded. Their remaining ships have powered down their weapons. President Carter's voice came back clear and strong. Any word from their government? High Counselor Zethvar has requested permission to speak with you directly. He claims to have authority to surrender on behalf of all remaining Zephyrian forces. Carter was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was hard as steel. Bring him up. Let's hear what the leader of the species that wanted to enslave humanity has to say. An hour later, Zethvar stood in the conference room aboard the human flagship. The alien leader looked nothing like the confident high commander who had threatened Earth 18 months ago. His gray skin was pale with fear. His forearms shook as he spoke. His black eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal looking for escape. President Carter sat across from him at a metal table. Admiral Henderson and General Taylor flanked her. The room was simple and cold. nothing like the ornate chambers, where Zephyrian leaders usually met their subjects. "High Counselor," Carter began, "I'm told you wish to discuss surrender terms." Zethvar nodded quickly. "Yes, human leader. The Zephyrian Council formally requests negotiation for the survival of our remaining population. We offer complete disarmament and withdrawal from all disputed territories." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Disputed territories? You mean the 43 star systems we took from you? The worlds where you kept billions of beings as slaves?" "We are prepared to abandon all claims to those systems," Zethvar replied desperately. "We will also provide reparations, technology transfers, whatever your people require. We only ask that you spare the civilian population of our homeworld." General Taylor leaned forward. "The same mercy you planned to show human civilians when you demanded our surrender?" The alien leader's black eyes went wide. "That was different. We were following standard Imperial protocol for integrating primitive species. We never intended genuine harm to your people." Admiral Henderson laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "You planned to put our children in work camps. You were going to break up human families and scatter them across your empire as laborers. That sounds like genuine harm to me." Carter stood up and walked to the window overlooking Zephyr Prime. The planet's surface was covered with the lights of cities that had never known war. Billions of aliens lived down there, completely dependent on her decision for their survival. "High Counselor, let me explain humanity's position," she said without turning around. 18 months ago, your empire sent warships to Earth. You demanded that 12 billion humans abandon their homes, surrender their freedom, and accept slavery. You gave us 30 days to comply or face extinction. She turned back to face the alien leader. "Do you remember what your High Commander said when we asked for mercy?" Zethvar nodded slowly. "He said that mercy was not why we were there." "Exactly," Carter replied. "Mercy was not why you came to Earth. War was not something you were forced into. Enslaving humanity was your choice. Threatening our children was your decision." The alien leader tried to speak, but Carter held up her hand for silence. "For 30 days you waited outside our solar system expecting us to surrender. During those 30 days, every human being in the galaxy worked together to build the weapons that destroyed your fleet. Men, women, children, all focused on one goal, making sure you could never hurt us." She walked back to the table and sat down. "We succeeded beyond our wildest hopes. We didn't just defend Earth. We conquered your entire empire. We liberated every species you enslaved. We reduced your mighty fleet to debris floating in space." Zethvar was shaking now. "What do you want from us? What are your terms?" Carter looked at him with cold eyes. "You want to know our terms? Here they are. The Zephyrian Empire is officially dissolved. Your military will be completely disbanded and all weapons destroyed. Your population will be relocated to 3 designated worlds under permanent human supervision." 3 worlds? Zethvar gasped. "But we have 8 billion people on this planet alone. You should have thought of that before you threatened humanity," General Taylor replied. 3 worlds is more mercy than you plan to show us." Admiral Henderson activated a holographic display showing the 3 planets. "These worlds have adequate resources to support your population. You'll be allowed to maintain your culture and basic technology, but all weapons research is forbidden. Human observers will ensure compliance." Carter continued. "Any Zephyrian found outside the designated worlds without human permission will be executed. Any attempt to rebuild military forces will result in the complete sterilization of all 3 worlds. Any act of terrorism or rebellion will be met with total annihilation." The alien leader looked desperately around the room. "And if we refuse these terms?" Carter smiled, but it was the smile of a predator about to kill. "Then we demonstrate. The final weapon Dr. Stone's team developed specifically for this moment." She pressed a button on her communicator. "Captain Morrison, please give our guest a demonstration of what happens to planets that refuse humanity's terms." On the holographic display, they watched a small human ship approach one of Zephyr Prime's 3 moons. The ship fired a single torpedo that seemed tiny compared to the massive celestial body. When the weapon struck, the entire moon simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not broken apart, gone, as if it had never been there at all. Zethvar stared at the empty space where a moon had been moments before. Impossible. What kind of weapon can make matter disappear? The kind of weapon humans build when aliens threaten their children, Carter replied. We call it a reality bomb. It makes space forget that matter was ever there. One torpedo can erase a planet. We have 5,000 of them. The alien leader collapsed into his chair. His species had conquered dozens of worlds with superior technology and overwhelming force. Now they faced beings who could make planets stop existing with a single shot. We accept your terms, he whispered. Complete surrender, relocation to the designated worlds, permanent human supervision. Carter nodded. The relocation will begin immediately. You have 6 months to move your entire population. Any Zephyrians remaining on this world after that time will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. As Zethvar was escorted away, Admiral Henderson looked at President Carter. What about the homeworld itself? Carter looked out at Zephyr Prime one final time. The planet where an empire had planned humanity's enslavement would soon be empty. We'll use it as a monitoring station, a reminder to every species in the galaxy of what happens when you demand that humanity kneel. 5 years later, President Carter stood before the United Nations addressing representatives from 47 different species. The Great Assembly Hall was filled with beings that had once been slaves under Zephyrian rule. Now they were free, protected under human authority. Today marks the 5th anniversary of humanity's emergence as a galactic power, she announced. When the Zephyrian Empire demanded our surrender, they awakened something they never expected. They learned that humans do not kneel to anyone. She looked around the hall at species from across known space. Let this serve as a lesson to any being that would threaten humanity or our allies. We sought peace among the stars. When you brought us war, we answered with total victory. The ashes of the Zephyrian Empire stand as testimony that humanity will kneel to no one. In the back of the assembly, Dr. Blake made a final entry in her research log. The Zephyrians demanded we kneel. They learned too late that humans don't kneel. We make others kneel to us. Outside the assembly hall, human ships patrolled the space lanes keeping peace in what had once been alien territory. The galaxy had a new apex predator, and every species knew the price of challenging humanity's right to exist. The war was over. Humanity had won completely.